I welcome all of you to this last session, which I will be moderating. And as you know, the title, Beyond Earth, Beyond Age, the key role of youth for the future of space exploration. And we have a very interesting panelist. So I'd like to first invite Mr. Clay Mowry, President IAF. Next, we have Dr. Shreya Santras. She's Assistant Professor of Space Robotics in Japan, and also she's Space Generation Advisory Council Scholarships Co-Lead. I invite next to Lisa Vitaris, Director of IAC 2025 Sydney and Space Industry Association of Australia. Next we have Mr. Gopichand Thotakura, and he is India's first civilian space tourist. We do not, unfortunately, Sirisa had to leave. So she's not here, but I welcome all of you and thank you for being here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed one name. Professor Pascal Ehrenfeld, President of COSPAR. Thank you, Professor Pascal. I hope you would ignore this mistake. And thank you so much. And we also, there will be a QR code, and you can scan that to ask question to any of the panelists, specific to any of the panelists, or specific to anyone, or in general, any questions if you have. And with that, we start our session, and the first round of this session is about the power and the potential of youth in space and why youth matters. With that, I'll like to ask first to Clay that we see that there is growing interest of youth in the space sector, and you are someone who has extensive experience in commercial space sector. How do you see that youth are contributing, and why do you see that their contribution matters when it comes to commercial space sector? And second part of the question is generally to all the panelists that what suggestion would you like to give to the youth to contribute in space exploration to make it more sustainable in a way, or make it accessible to everyone? Thank you.
Sure, thank you for the question, and thank you for having me on the panel. Look, the youth are the ones bringing the energy. They're the one bringing the new ideas to what we're doing. If you look back at the Apollo era, right, which I'm older, but I'm not that old that I can really remember what it was like in the '60s. But the average age in the Apollo program was something like 25, 26 years old. These are people right out of school, right out of engineering programs that were actually building, designing, launching humans to space and to the moon. Right? And so you see that same trend happening now, particularly in the United States. I hope it's also happening, and I've met a number of students here in India, where we have a whole new generation of young people that are actively involved. I think SpaceX is probably one of the companies that comes to mind in terms of how they embrace young people. They have an older, responsible engineer on the team, but they're attracting people right out of school, right out of university or a master's program that are helping them to build, design Starlink, Starship, all of these Dragon, all of the programs that they're working on. So a very young average age there compared to the more established players in the industry. They're bringing energy, they're bringing excitement, they're bringing new ideas and hard work, right, to it. And I will just say, I'm now also the head of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I just finished, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Arizona where we did our Design, Build, Fly competition. We had students, over 1,000 students from all over the world, 15 different countries that were there, designing and building aircraft, working in teams, all looking for jobs in this industry, all ready to come out with backgrounds in mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, electrical engineering. These guys are bringing a whole new spirit to this. This is the most exciting time right now in the space industry that I've been in 32 years because of the dynamism, because of the amount of investment that's flowing in, and we are trying to harness the capabilities of these young people who are bringing this energy. And I've met a lot of great students here. I think there's 500 plus students here at this event this week, and they're all asking me kind of the same question. How do I get an internship? How do I get a job? How do I get a scholarship to go to the IC in Australia? So you see this energy, you see the excitement that they're bringing, and I'm thrilled by it, right? And I think really it's going to carry us forward. We know in Milan, the IC, where we had a record number of 11,000 people, we had a huge turnout from students and young professionals, huge turnout in terms of the number of abstracts submitted. And I say this, by the way, for both IAF and for AIAA, where I am. The students are the flywheel. I don't know if you know this concept of the flywheel from Amazon, where they talk about the engine that basically creates and throws off all the other ideas and energy for Amazon. Our flywheel here is the students, right? We're bringing the students to come. They present the papers, the abstracts, they attend the show. And when they come when they're young, when you come when you're when you're a student or you're a graduate student or you're a young professional, and you have a great experience at this event at a GLEX or at an IAF or IC, you're going to keep coming back throughout your career. You're going to bring that energy to our committee structure, to our forums and events, and so that's really the treasure. So it matters for us as an industry as we're looking to explore, which is why we're here this week, that they're coming, that they're engaged, they're presenting in the IP sessions, they're presenting papers, because you guys are the future. So thank you for being here, by the way. Yeah.
To that, I would add just one more thing that often we say that youth are the future, but I believe they are already the present. That's what we are seeing, and that's very interesting. Like you highlighted, the energy. We see the energy, and it's very important to preserve and motivate that. With that, I have a question for you, Shreya, because you have been part of Space Generation Advisory Council now for nearly a decade. That's a long time to be a part of any organization voluntarily. I must say that also. And you progressed from being a scholarship recipient. Now you are academic leader. You are in Japan and also co-lead of SGSE scholarship. Looking back, how did being part of SGSE open professional doors for you? And more broadly, what does SGSE uniquely offer that traditional academic or industry pathways might not?
Thank you for the question, Shravani, and thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be in this panel. So that's true. I've been part of SGSE since 10 years now, and I'm still not a dinosaur. So I still be there. But yes, my first SGC, ISC I attended was in 2015. And fortunately, I got the scholarship to attend that. And when I went there, it was life-changing. I met people who were of my age. Shirisha was the first one I met there. And I thought like they were doing incredible work. And that was my inspiration, not people who were elder to me, but people who were of my age and with whom I could relate. And that moved me. And that's how I have been volunteering for this organizations ever since, as a website manager and now as a scholarship co-coordinator. Because I thought I have something to give back, because I got the scholarships, I got the opportunities, and this is where I can give back to the community. So SGAC, if you don't know, it's Space Generation Advisory Council. It's a permanent member of UN COPUS and IAF, IAF as well. So, and it provides a platform for young professionals and students of 18 to 35 years of age to attend different kind of events like ISE, SGFF and Space Symposium in the US, and many other regional events that we organize in different regions. And we give scholarships to attend these events so that you can leverage the opportunity to communicate, to network, and to be, so that your voice is heard out. So often it happens that students and young professionals' work or their talent or their voice go unrecognized. So SGAC provides that platform, also the opportunity, and we also provide mentorship to students to work on different kind of projects or for career guidance. So I think SGAC is a very unique platform. We have over close to 30,000 members as of today from more than 165 countries around the world. So it's one of the largest network of space students and young professionals. And many of the students I met here at SGAC, at GLEX, are from SGAC, and they got to know about this conference through SGAC. So I think that's what is unique, and it's a great opportunity and great platform to be part of, even as a volunteer, and get to meet some really great people.
Thank you, Shreya. Very interesting. 2 points, like you said, that it's a way of giving back to the society. And also, sometimes we do not actually find someone to guide us. And being a PhD student now, writing doctoral thesis on space law, I could resonate with that totally. And also being part of Space Generation Advisory Council as National Point of Contact India, when I was mentoring someone from Nigeria recently, and I felt a sense of giving back to the society and immaterial of the border where the person is located. And that's incredible that SGS is providing that platform. And one more question to you, Shreya, in addition to that, and I will be happy if any one of you would like to answer that. We are talking about beyond age. And then SGAC itself has a limitation of 35 years. How do you see that? And what should be done if we want to go beyond age? So
it's okay if you're over 35 years of age. You can still be an SGAC alumni and be a mentor for the younger ones, or you can support. So basically give back. That's your opportunity to give back. Be part of the alumni network. We have a very big alumni network of SGAC. So I think it's absolutely okay if you're...
So dinosaurs matter?
Yes,
it's okay?
They do matter, yes.
Yeah.
And if any one of you would like to add, Lisa, maybe Gopi? Yeah, okay. So my next question is to you, Lisa. As you are working with IAC 2025 Sydney, that will be in Sydney in September, and that involves, again, bringing together the world's space community. And Space Generation Advisory Council is a proud partner of that, and we're very happy about that. And what role do you see young professionals are playing, not simply just attending it, but also as a contributing to the space community in general? And why is it important for them to be in the room and sometimes at the podium too, like we are having this session, why it is so important to talk about youth?
Yeah, I think this industry, I have to say, coming actually from different industries myself, from financial services and telecommunications and with a marketing background, this industry is really unique. For space to have such a thing as SGAC for 18 to 35-year-olds, fine, time-bound, dinosaurs aside, as alumni, that I don't know if you realize how special that actually is, because it doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen in other industries, and I've been across many. So I'd just say that in itself is incredible. And then the fact that you get together for several days, you work on real-world problems from the world's best space agencies, and you solve them together from all of these different countries around the world, and then they take your recommendations and actually implement them. I'm sorry, but it's actually giving me goosebumps. The fact that you can actually do that is so powerful for the industry. So there's obviously, amazing quality, amazing minds that come together to solve probably some of the world's most complex challenges. I think the really interesting thing as well is when we start to think about cross-discipline. So, as I said, I come from a marketing and communications background. We need more marketing and communications professionals in space. We need to, and definitely in Australia, we need to change the narrative about space on the public stage. So how do we tell people about, space is not just, no offense, not just astronauts, but it's more than that. It's actually changing, and you would know best, but it's changing our life on Earth. This is the message that we need to get across. So I think, we need lawyers, we need space law, we need communications professionals, we need astronauts, we need engineers, we need everybody. And I think SGAC is just the most fantastic opportunity to bring everyone together from these diverse backgrounds with all of these new areas in a workforce. It's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to having you all there and solving some really exciting challenges.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And like you said, yes, I have often been asked by many people, okay, space law, is there a law? And it's not even that new now. But still, I have been asked by many people, what exactly are you working on? What are you doing? So sometimes I also used to question initially when I stepped into space law that, am I actually contributing something? And because I am working on the area like responsibility for environmental harm in outer space, so it sparks a lot of debate at times, also depending on with whom I'm sharing the table, obviously. So, but yes, that's very important, and I am not sure about any other area where so diverse people we can have at one table as a space, which is very interesting. And gathering like this obviously make it more important to exchange a dialogue. With that, I have a question for Pascal. And because you have led major scientific institutions and advised space agencies at the highest levels, and throughout your career, you have championed the value of cross-generational collaborations. But in a world where experience often dominates decision-making, why do you believe youth is essential, not just as a future talent, but as present-day contributors to space science and policy?
Yeah, thank you also very much for inviting me here. I feel quite home on the stage now after 3 days. And yeah, I would like to say this a little bit from the scientific expertise, because scientific knowledge, and in particular engineering knowledge, is something which is very precious. And you have to have this institutional memory. And you have really to create a new generation, and a generation which has fresh perspectives, which is questioning the status quo, and really proceeds into a long-term vision. And I think what's really very important is this combination of having people working together, which have worked on the different legacies, which have all this institutional memory, and actually give it to the next generation. It's in particular in engineering that's very important, because you have, we had in Europe, so a phase after 40 years where you really need to create a new generation. Otherwise, the knowledge transfer is really difficult. And as we know, space is complex, and space missions are complex, and this has to be transferred. So I can just refer to also the 3G initiative from the International Astronautical Federation, which is actually really doing that, namely by generation, where you have mentoring, and where I think you can approach really everybody, young people can approach everybody, for a discussion and understanding, what to do next, to help with a problem, and help with expertise. So this is really a very, very, very good place. And in generally, I think it is very important to have this kind of environment where people with a lot of expertise, and which have run space missions, which have designed space missions, that they actually, work together also with young people, because it's a digital age, and they have very different knowledge, and that this combination will bring us further into the future of space exploration.
Thank you. Very interesting. Like you said, there has to be an environment like that where we often feel that our voice are heard. And sometimes we, like I was just talking about myself, that, at times I was feeling, I was self-questioning and lost. So my question is to you, Gopichand, because you have made headlines as India's first civilian space tourist, and it was a powerful moment for all of us, for the country's visibility in human space flight. What advice would you give to youth who may feel space is not for them, or maybe they are just lost and they think it's a far-fetched dream, we are not able to reach that. So what is your advice to the youth?
Well, thanks for the question, but I think we've been talking about this for 3 days now, and if some of you have heard it twice, then I think I'll still say it again because it's so powerful. And the message really is that they should never be discouraged to do something they love. It can be anything. It can be anything that you choose to do, but you shouldn't be discouraged yourself. Moreover, you shouldn't discourage your friend that's next to you, and that's very important. And I mentioned something yesterday when we were talking to some of the kids who were here, very passionate, and they have some questions which I haven't heard in some serious universities stateside. And these are 12th grade students in school here. And they're technical, and they know what is to come after the answer. They have a question following the answer, which is very unique to see. When you see this kind of passion, you don't want to be discouraged yourself, and you never want them to be discouraged through somebody around them. It could be a friend, it could be a teacher, it could be somebody else. But what I was mentioning yesterday was that it's the power of unity. It's the power of being together, whether if it's amongst ourselves or if it's amongst somebody else that you don't know who can, give a lending open hand. The biggest thing that I was realizing in this conference, especially with IIF and everybody who's organized it, I've been to a lot of talks over the course after this flight. I have never seen a place like yesterday where there were 8 countries represented on one stage with people making significant impact in each of their domiciles. And that's huge. That's monumental. So if you think about it, I was one person in the room who had done something interesting when you were talking to universities. Yesterday, I was not one. I was one of many ones who were sitting here on stage. And that was very impactful. And that's the power of unity, to bring together so many people in one platform and try to deliver a strong message. They should never be discouraged. And I think that you should always support the one next to you more than supporting yourself, because you never know how you will grow once you support the one next. So that's my message to them.
Very interesting, and thank you. Okay, so I'm sure everyone liked your answer very much, and it's very important that we meet such people who believe in us. When I say we, I am just representing all the students and all the youth, that it's very important. Sometimes when we are in doubt, we just want to hear it from someone else, someone be inspired. And I would say that I have been lucky to have a few mentors, very few, from India and also abroad, who has guided me and said, no, you are on right track, and which is very important at times. But unfortunately, I think sometimes we see that people believe in legacy, people believe in the generations, people believe in the experiences. Oh no, you don't have enough experience, so probably you're not able to do that. We often hear that, and many of us, I'm sure, might have across all that already. But as young generations and in general, I believe that we should not restrict it to that. What is your take on that, Clay, that should we actually value still age over the enthusiasm that youth shares these days?
No, I mean, look, I ran a trade association, the Satellite Industry Association, when I was 29 years old, and I was afforded that opportunity. Why? Well, they couldn't afford to pay somebody older than me to run it. And I didn't know how to run a trade association. No one teaches you when you're growing up, hey, go run a trade association someday. But I realized at that point in my career, I was going to meet the executives from all the satellite industry in the United States. I was going to meet members of Congress and people in the government, and I was going to be able to carry the message for the industry forward. And so I took the job. It was an incredible learning experience for me. And as I like to say, by the way, for the young people in the audience, there's a lot of things in life that are one-way doors or two-way doors. This was a two-way door, right? So I could enter that job, I could leave it. Taking that job doesn't mean I was going to be an industry, a trade association executive for the rest of my life. I could have been, but I could also leave it and go into industry, which I did, right? So there's a lot of two-way doors, and you think about your careers and your life and where you're heading, think about going and stepping through those two-way doors, because it's going to lead you to somewhere else. It's going to, as long as the experience is something where you're learning, where you're making connections, where you're growing and you're thinking, it's a great opportunity. And so I encourage people, particularly the young people, take the risk, take the job, step into the job, don't have imposter syndrome. Yeah, you should really take it on and do it and learn in the role. So young people have an incredible amount of energy and power. I mean, you can look at a lot of the great startups, by the way, now in the tech industry, in the space industry. A lot of them are led by young professionals that are in their 20s and early 30s that are starting companies that are doing incredible things. So don't let that be a hindrance. And we should accept it, I think, broadly as an industry. I was telling the story about SJAC earlier, about how SJAC had to really fight for equal status amongst the IAF. For a long time, it was IISL and it was IAA as part of the IAF, say, triad when we were putting on the IC. And I was on the board of SJAC for 12 years, and we really fought for about 5 years to get it to have equal status, and now it's an incredible engine for the IAF and the IC. So we're proud of SJAC, we're proud of what you guys bring, and yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Clay. So
I just want to add something to it. Thank you, Clay, for all your work for SJAC. I just want to add that all experienced people have been young at once, at some time. As Clay mentioned about Apollo era, even in India, we had Vikram Sarabhai as the main visionary, and he recruited all young scientists in his team who got trained and learned from experiences. So don't be shy and just learn from your experiences with trial and error, and that's most important.
Right.
If I may, I'd love to add something as well, just as some advice to people who might be in that situation. I think one thing which I've seen a fair bit since joining this industry is young professionals definitely can do the job. They have the experience. Sometimes what still needs to be learned, and it does take time, are leadership skills. So managing a team, how to motivate people, how to actually be a leader versus a manager. Just, it's easy to tell someone to do something and how to do it, but how do you actually let them figure it out for themselves and get them to be self-motivated? I think that takes either education, so you can go and do, like in Australia we have courses for new leaders, so why not take that course when you are in your early 20s so that you actually understand how to motivate people and how to lead people? Because then you're actually getting these skills really, really early on, in which case you will be able to take that job. There's absolutely no excuse to promote you at a really young age to manage and lead a team because you have those skills. SJC also fantastic because you're getting those leadership skills. You're, moderating the panels. You're leading India into the future. You're leading the whole of the youth into the future of space. I think to get that opportunity, you really need to leverage both the leadership training and any leadership opportunities and get them nice and early. Put them on the CV, promote them on LinkedIn, put photos of yourself all over LinkedIn doing these amazing things in leadership, and then those opportunities will come. There is no reason why they shouldn't.
Thank you, Lisa. Pascal wants to add something.
Yeah, just one aspect. I think in my time, it was really important to follow a certain scheme. Yeah, you have to make your master, you have to make your PhD, and so on and so on. And today, I think the young generation is extremely versatile. They have an interdisciplinary education, often 2-3 masters. They made internships in between. So they have a completely different experience and also very often practical experience. And that really, really helps, in order also to shape, the space sector in discussions and being in networks and going into leadership positions. I think something what we have heard extensively during these 3 days is one of the aspects of space is safety. And this is something where everybody somehow clinches together and says, oh, wow, we really need, the status quo. We need to look what we have done in the past, what we have done. So here, I think in this aspect, I think we have all to work together that this is actually really transformed and worked out. But even AI, which I think the young generation masters much, much better, is important in the future for that aspect as well. So this interdisciplinary education, I realized that just now I speak in the microphone. So actually this interdisciplinary education of the young generation and this of practical internship and so on experience, I think brings a lot, to the space sector and, also to having a role and speaking up.
Thank you so much, Pascal. And I'd like to just add a point that, like Lisa just mentioned, that I'm moderating a session at the last moment, and which is incredible, I must say. When I received email and a message from Nicole, I was in panic that how? But then this is a chance. Either you do it or you fail. That's it. You have to take the opportunity or you have to let go and forget about it. And I am very glad to meet all these incredible panelists because they motivated me to go for it. And also, sometimes I feel when I am talking to any student, they are very hesitant to reach out. And I always suggest that there is no harm. You anyway don't have anything, so just approach. And because of that, I'd like to highlight two names who are here. Ranjana Kaul ma'am and Tanja Mason ma'am, both of them has been very helpful in my career and in guiding me. So I always, if there is opportunity, I would certainly like to, express that. So it's very important for youth also to keep approaching. Maybe you will not get a response, which is okay. And
can I just add something there? Because I think you mentioned something really critical, which is you either do it or you fail. I don't know if everybody here, particularly the young professionals, know that failing is okay. Like, failing is great. You've done it. You've given it a go. It doesn't matter. You can totally mess up on stage. You can embarrass yourself. How long are people going to remember for? Well, it depends how bad it is, but no, but they won't. They will forget. They will forgive. It's fine. It's better than not giving anything a go at all. Like, space wouldn't exist really as, and wouldn't have had so much advancement if it wasn't for failures. So I think I just want to point that out because I think some people, particularly when you're starting out, you need everything to be 100% perfect. No, you don't. You can fail. And probably you're going to learn more quickly if you do fail. So I think it's important.
I like the expression, you win or you learn, instead of you win or you fail. I mean, we talk about failing forward a lot, and SpaceX is kind of famous for this idea of failing forward. But it's really about learning, yeah, right? I mean, I don't think about it as failure, like, oh, okay, it's the end. It's just a learning experience, and you're going to get better as you go along. Yeah?
Right. Very well put. Yes, it is ultimately your learning. Even if you fail, you learn. So worth taking the risk. Like I always say to my students also, and I say often to myself also, worth taking the risk, why not? So yes, to that, I have a question for Pascal, because when we see especially science and exploration that is dominant by legacy and experienced professional there, how do you see youth playing challenging the status quo, and how can we balance innovation with risk in such a high-stakes environment?
Well, I think it's quite important for young people in science, to try to find one subject where you feel really comfortable and good, and then you branch out interdisciplinary. It's always good to have one thing where you actually fall back and where you feel good and you have your self-confidence. So what I said before, there is a lot of interdisciplinarity, there is a lot of, I'd say, the flexible schedules of going in a company for a year, even starting a company, going back into a large company, going back and making a PhD. So this is all possible today. And I think all this experience brings you further. What I can say just for my career, which is ancient, dinosaur. What did you say about dinosaurs? Yeah. Okay. I love dinosaurs actually, and it is so that you have experience, and you really want to continue, to bring this to the new generation. I don't think that this it's a real problem to when you are young to go into networks. What I have done is really to go into working groups and just did the work. I tried to connect to people. I tried to write the minutes. Start from the bottom. Like you go in a company. And then when you do good work, and the people see that you are interested and enthusiastic, they actually continue to put you into networks and give you projects. So it is important for young people to ask, for tasks and for projects and to succeed and to go further. I think this is the way, in particular in science, or when you make a master project and you want already to work on a space mission, that you go somewhere, or when you are in a university, you can also go in a company and actually make your master thesis or a project in the company by still studying and moving around in this direction where you really think you have success. I think this is something which is possible in science, and networking from the very early start, and trying to get special tasks done, and trying to really show what you can do. And I think SGSC is a wonderful platform. You are writing wonderful reports where you work together, where you exchange knowledge. And this is also where you can make your career, because you are presenting these kind of results and these reports at conferences. So it's, this is, I think, a little bit a way to go, in particular in science, because you have always to impress with results.
Thank you, Pascal, for kind word of appreciation for SGSE, and I totally resonate with that. I myself realized that, and I'm sure Shreya will agree to that, and all the members who are here of SGSE. So thank you. And I have a question for Gopichand now, because your presence in space represents a new wave of access to space. But that also raises certain questions that who are eligible to go there, who should, and how should, and a lot of more questions. So what's your take on how we define worthiness for space flight in the years to come?
I think, I don't know if I can change the question, but I think I'm not a big fan of the word worthy for anybody, for ourselves or for the next generation. I think it's a word that is very misleading in a way, not really discouraging, but I believe that if somebody feels that they are not worthy, then they have been mistaken from both sides, from internally and from the other side. I don't believe that whether if it's space tourism or whether if it's an orbital mission or furthermore, the worthiness is in every individual who contributed to that person going to space, who's not there. So for the mission, for me to be able to get in a rocket, I believe everybody who was worthy to make that rocket get there that morning is more important than the people in the rocket that morning. And in addition, there is a lot of, there's a few kids here, I don't even know where they are, but I happened to stumble into a small classroom 2 days ago, and it's the idea of giving opportunity to them to be aware of SGSE, of IAF, of all these organizations that in a country like ours is very hard to do mass marketing of. It's very difficult. I think there are about 10 pilots. I don't know where you are. You guys can probably raise your hand. Yeah, they are. So it's very unique because they had no idea this was happening. There's a class of, I think, 200 odd people when I walked in after the session here yesterday. And I just asked, if anybody is interested in space, not being an astronaut, but anything about space, please come and join. And this is live. And I think that it's not that the 10 of them are worthy and the 190 that did not come are not, but they realize the potential of being able to contribute to what would become worthy tomorrow in their own fields. So I think that word is not best described the way it is, but if you innately can take the opportunity to come and present, then I guess that's your answer to being worthy. So
Thank you so much. You are right in calling out the word worthiness. I am not a fan of it either, but sometimes we do come across such words, and I thought, who is the best person to answer that than you? So I just asked it, and very well put. Thank you. And my next question is to you, Shreya, because you have traveled across the continent, have travel there, and your journey is very remarkable, and you have mentored also space emerging space professionals through SGSE mentorship program. And from your experience, how do you define geographic gap, the barriers that you see, and especially when it comes to infrastructure? Like, we always talk about the opportunities, we want to do something, but nowadays I also feel that with the internet, with the opportunities available, we are still able to. But do you think it has reached to the extent it should? And what is the most important barrier you still see is there? Although we were just talking before the session, breaking the barrier, but what barrier you would like to break first?
Absolutely. Thank you for that very important question. I myself am from a very small mining town of East India, and no one knows about space there. Even now, I don't think they know much about what's going on in the space sector. But I was always very intrigued by the stars, and the library became my main liberating space. So I would pour into the books and study about cosmos, about Dr. Rakesh Sharma, and learned about Dr. Kalpana Chawla. And that became a main motivation for me to get into the space sector. And my motivation is to become an astronaut, but more importantly, that I make space more safe and sustainable. So I think everyone out there, the students, the young professionals who still don't know about space, it's very important for us to reach out to them. And I know several organizations and institutions are already working on this. ISRO is doing a great job reaching out to the students, to every corner of the country through their programs and schools so that they know about what ISRO is doing and the current ecosystem that has built in India, the space startups. They are doing a great job in recruiting students from different fields. So I think that's there's still a lot of work to be done, but there has been a lot of change in the last 10, 15 years. And it's also comes from, like, the students should know, as we discussed before, how to reach out to mentors, how to reach out to opportunities. There are a lot of scholarships, a lot of platforms that they can be part of, these competitions where they can learn from. And SGAC has several project groups, 11 project groups from different topics that they can be part of, free of cost, just with an internet connection. They can collaborate with people from around the world and publish papers. So these kind of projects can help them build their profile. I know ISRO works also for many skill development and training programs, even for space emerging countries of the region and other. Same for JAXA. JAXA has a very good program called BIRDS, where they train for capacity building of members of other space emerging nations. So yes, there is a geographic gap, but that can be filled up with these kind of initiatives that the space agencies and the organizations are doing. And there's a lot of work to be done, but I think we are in a good direction.
Very interesting, and very interesting to know about your journey as well, because I'm sure many of the youth must be inspired, and which is very important that we see ourselves into someone. That's how we create our own path, but obviously inspired by others. That's very important. And Lisa, I have a question for you now about, many people are interested and they are also contributing in space in one or another way, maybe as a lawyer or maybe through music or art or as a startup. Startup is still okay, but there are many which are voluntarily positions when it comes to space. And how do we address this unfortunate reality that for many young people today, it is still they have to struggle to make a living from working in space. Sometimes they are not able to do that. They can work in the space, but they are not able to make living from that. So how do we address that unfortunate reality?
Yeah, and it still blows my mind that that is unfortunately for some people a reality, because space is literally driving the future. It is solving the most complex problems that we have on Earth. It is helping with climate change. It is helping with improving agriculture. It is helping to improve critical minerals, emergency services, bushfires, and so on. It gives me goosebumps talking about the actual impact that space can have, and you know, some of like the most complex things. In my mind, really, it's about a perception change that we need to effect. In Australia, definitely in many other countries throughout the world, we need to convey what space is actually useful for, why space matters. Because if you can actually change public perception, you can get everyone out there understanding the real value of why astronauts go to space. It's, you know, all the science and all of the research and all of the possibility and all of the development that then inspires, it motivates, it educates. Governments then can't ignore that. Governments cannot ignore if the entire population believes that space is the most important thing. They will then, this is my view anyway, hopefully redirect, and you know, India is a perfect example of that, redirect budgets, redirect focus on the space industry, enable it to grow, enable, you know, India to get 300 startups within the space of a couple of years. I just find that mind-blowing. So it goes to show, and you know, the Indian population is focused on space, does understand the value, does have some really exciting missions. I don't think that's the same in many other countries in the world. So how do we actually recreate that experience? How do we showcase to the rest of the world what a country can do, what the opportunities are in space, and then affect that change? I think until that happens, the industry needs to grow. It's still nascent in so many parts of the world. But I really, I'm here to help that. I love communications. That is my background. I think IAC is a fantastic vehicle. As soon as you host an IAC in your country, you are able to see that growth and spike in the space industry, which I'm really excited about to bring to Australia in September.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I have one question, and any one of you would like to answer, it's fine, but clearly more importantly to you, that sometimes we see that scholarships are very important, especially to participate in conferences like this or any event that is happening, because even the registration fees are very high, or if I can say it, it's inaccessible in a way that is creating a barrier in itself, and especially from youth, especially from the students who have very limited funding. And then if we compare from the developing nations or underdeveloped nations, we see hardly any presence from there. So scholarships are important, fundings are important, but then in a situation like now, maybe that there is a budget cut, there is no scholarship, not more scholarship, and the number of scholarships are limited, but we see participation from countries and these nations more and more every year, but that is limited. So how do you see this situation, and what solution, if you think it could have, what would that be?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. About a dozen years ago, I started an organization in the United States called the Future Space Leaders Foundation, and we created a scholarship to send students and graduate students to the Space SGAC Congress every year. And so I think we've sent over 73 or 74 deserving students to this event through grants over the last about 10 years. And it's been a fantastic program. It was a little bit of a challenge to set it up. I have to say, when I took on the task and I got my friends together, I thought this will be easy, and it wasn't as easy as I thought. But the outcome's been tremendous. And I will tell you the impact of those students that have come, and they've told me later, it changed my life, it changed my career. I met all these students from all over the world that are passionate about what I want to do. So there are mechanisms out there. We have a Young Space Leaders program at the IAF. SGAC does its own sponsors scholarships to bring people to event. Space agencies play a huge role in this. So we get a lot of space agencies that will bring their young professionals or students from universities that will come to our events. And so a lot of this is actually you as students or graduate students have to go and dig for this money. You know, there is some money out there. oftentimes, too, you can, with different organizations, you sometimes can get them to waive the fee. So I'll give you an example. I had a student who's an AIAA chapter member at Auburn University contacted me a couple of weeks ago. He said, I'm trying to figure out how to get a job. I'm about to graduate. I want to go to some events. And I said, why don't you call up the organizers, see if you can volunteer at the event. If you can get yourself there, get a cheap plane ticket, they may give you access to the event. And in fact, this is exactly what happened. He went to Satellite, he went to the Space Symposium, and he attended the Fusion Forum. And he got in because he basically said, hey, I'll come and work for free as long as you'll give me the pass, the badge to attend the show. And I think he shared a hotel or Airbnb with some friends, and they all figured out how to do this. So in some ways, you have to kind of work at it a little bit. You have to dig or find some unique ways to do it. But there are ways to do it. There really are.
Certainly. Yes,
I just want to add something to it. So there will always be crisis. In the morning, we heard the Turkish astronaut Alper mention that they had a huge earthquake, and yet their vision of going to space was not hindered by their policymakers. So this kind of policy support is very important to build an ecosystem, because we cannot jeopardize the future generation and our space visions for current crisis and challenges. So challenges will always be there, and we have to overcome those with our visions.
Interesting. True that. Yes, we have to overcome that, and there's no other way of that. Gopi, Chandip, do you want
I was just going to add to that, and I was just going to say that if there's a will, then Dr. Johnson from the NASA's, the Dr. Johnson, which NASA has named after. There's a very famous saying, and she said that if there's a will, then you're already there, and that's kind of a way to put it for those individuals who are looking for a grant. The grant or a scholarship is not huge. It's really not that big. It's minute, and that minute can change their life forever. But I think that the gap is lying for the people who give the grant to the end user actually to get the grant. Especially in a country like ours, it's very almost, it's not impossible, but it's too optimistic to think that I will get a grant if I have an idea to make a small box that's a satellite that will go to the ISS. The gap is too much. And to bridge the gap, it has to come from within, from innate, from those around you, and from those who are guiding and mentoring you. If they don't do it, then the box will always remain there. It'll never reach, the ISS. So I think that it's the passion that is driven, and that passion will eventually get you that grant. And yes, there are so many other resources that are there. But for us, we don't see the resources in India. The resources are always outside the country. In India, there aren't any space organizations that are even publicizing that, yes, we do have a grant. But for someone to actually, who is in a tier 2 or a tier 3 city, who has a brilliant idea, for him to realize that there's a grant in Australia or in the US, it's not possible. It's really not. So it is such events, and yes, there is a barrier to a fee and everything for you to come in here, but it is such events, if made public, and okay, maybe the cost, maybe there's other factors to it, but you can live televise this like you're doing here. The live television can be the gateway to having universities or schools open that up and not have a class during this 1 hour. Rather telecast this to the science students, to those who are in physics, to those who want to go and do IGCSE or IB and all this. I mean, if somebody will take out of it, they would, right? They don't have to travel to Delhi to do that. We just have to make the effort to make this get to them. And it's not that much. There's no money play there. So I think it's us who also have to be a part of that to get the grant to them, and not just them, trying to reach out, because maybe they're restricted by it, is what I think. So.
Interesting. You said it right, that where there's a will, there is a way. And we just have to work towards finding the way. And we have a lot of questions, but I'm not sure how many I will be able to take. But let's start from Shreya. There is a question for you. You mentioned for people of age above 35, but how can people of age under 18 take part in SGAC? Now, youth is just not limited to above 18 and below 35.
That's a great question, yes. So if you are below 35, you cannot officially be part of SGAC, but you can still be, join the different courses that are available, like the Achieved Academy course that is run by SGAC, or SGAC members run a number of initiatives. There are magazines, there are Space Tutor, which is an initiative by ISRO and InSpace, which is also like there are several space tutors which are SGAC members, so you can learn from them, and then when you become 18 years of age, you join officially as a SGAC member, but your age is not a hindering factor. So if you have a dream, if you're passionate about it, nothing can stop you. You just keep believing in it and keep working on it. And that's the most important thing. So do not be worried that you're not yet 18.
If you're under 18, you can join AIAA, my organization, for free. Just go to the website, AIAA.org, and it's free. We are happy to have you.
Great. So you got answers and also options, if I may say that. So you can. And question is for President Pascal. For the people working towards space sustainability and space policy, can you suggest the way forward that could help make the required impact?
Can you just say
Should I repeat
the first part? The first part?
Yeah, I missed the question. Just give me a second. Yeah. For the people working towards space sustainability and space policy, can you suggest the way forward that could help make the required impact?
Okay, so I do believe, and I think we all have witnessed this, that the young generation, the young space generation, is extremely interested in space sustainability and always asks questions and is also involved. The space generation has written a fantastic Eagle report about responsible lunar exploration. And it's a huge report, widely cited. So join the SGAC. This is one thing, because these are the documents which are also used and lead into policy documents. They are discussed, for instance, at the level of the United Nations. And so I think it's really important for to voice, to try to work in working groups, to try to be a part of one of the advisory groups of sustainability, which are everywhere in so many organizations. Also, the IF, of course, has committees. Every other organization has committees because it's a very, very important topic. And when you are part of these kind of committees and our advisory groups, you can actually really make your impact by helping to write documents which then will be delivered to decision makers.
Thank you. I hope that answered correctly to the audience. And there is one question for you, Gopichand. What is the initial investment plan for the aspiring astronauts, and what's the process?
Initial investment plan? I don't think I understand your question. You mean to do a suborbital flight, or is it an orbital flight? Or
I'm not sure, because that's a question from our audience, and that's what it says, the investment plan initial. And maybe they might be asking about for the how do they live while they are making plan to go in this space. I'm not sure what exactly that is.
Not sure I understand the question, but maybe I can answer it a different way. But I think that there is no investment. The investment is you yourself. The investment is your time. That's what it is. Somebody had a question earlier today on a panel, and they said, they were asking that how much is there to explore in space? It was a very open-ended question, is how much is there to explore in space? Is this possible? What the generation today, in a very positive way, don't understand is that the possibilities are only limited by what you imagine. There is so much to explore in space that I can't even express it if I wanted to in words. And if that can be something that you can think about, then the investment is almost nothing. It's for you to think about A or B, little or large, and you can really pinpoint to where you fit in this black, deep matter of space that they call, because we're just getting started. Somebody mentioned to me in a conference at NASA, if we, for the next 10 decades, explore space, about if the tenth of the population on the Earth were involved in space, we'll explore about 0.5% for the next 100 years. And let that sink in. For 100 years, if 10% of 8 billion people were exploring every day, you would explore 0.5% of space. So if you let that sink in for a second, then I don't think there is an investment that they need to make from their end. So.
Interesting. One final question that I'm taking from audience is if any one of you can suggest a pathway for the students who are interested in more than one field of space science.
More than?
One field of space science.
Yeah, but as I said before, today students and also young professionals are so versatile. I have studied, for instance, astrophysics and molecular biology. And it came very handy in the search for life.
But I genuinely don't, I just want to add, I don't think that anybody here should be discouraged if you are above 18 or if you are above your 12th senior secondary, because you don't need the physics and the engineering and the math today. You don't need that. You don't need that to be an astronaut. You don't need that to be able to assist in any space exploration. I think what you have today, it can be as little as biology, or it can be as little as you don't even have a degree. But with your passion, that will take you a lot further than, trust me, the guy who has that aeronautical engineering degree sitting next to you. So don't let that limit and you know, keep your imagination to that, oh, I don't have this degree, so I won't be able to contribute. I think that's a myth. And today we can see it more than ever.
We need everyone in space. We need management professionals. We need accountants. We need lawyers. We need, communications specialists. We need absolutely everyone. It definitely helps if you have multiple disciplines. So fantastic. Do combine degrees. Fantastic. Learn different languages. Do all sorts of things. Great. Combine it. Get the experience early. But don't think just because you're in a different field to being an engineer or something that you can't have a career in space. We're going to need everything in space. So please feel very inspired by that.
I just want to add, do not restrict yourself. The world is changing, the technology is changing every day. So it's the best thing if you are not like an expert in just one field. If you have multiple fields and multiple knowledge of different fields, that's where you get the edge. And as already mentioned, space is interdisciplinary and intergenerational. So it's very important that we all work towards that and skill ourselves.
Totally agree to that, Shreya. And in fact, you cannot really restrict yourself to just one when it comes to space. Even if you are working as a space lawyer, you need to know a few science things, which initially I also find challenging, but then I had to learn a few things. And if you are working in any area of space, you need to know another, at least a little bit of that. So you cannot really restrict yourself into just one area of space or domain of space. You need to understand few important aspects of another domain as well. And with that, I'll just ask one quick question, final questions to all the panelists, that how and what do you, how do you want to see space community by 2040, and what is your hope to see in space community, especially for youth? So that's the final question, starting from Pascal.
I would say an international community which works together and drives a space community and drives innovation.
I'm going to steal her idea. I think that multicultural is what will take the space of the future.
I'd like the public and governments all over the world incredibly appreciative of space and all the benefits that it can bring to Earth, so that it grows the entire industry and it is a viable and really well-paid career for everyone in so many different countries.
And I would like to have more policy support and more knowledge sharing and skill development in the coming decades across geographies.
I want the next generation to take us off planet so that we're living and working in space and it's benefiting life here on Earth. That's my hope.
Very interesting. So with that, we end this session, and not to forget to thank, starting from Pascal, thank you for joining a very interesting session. I really enjoyed moderating it. And Gopi Chand, again, it was very interesting to have answers and a different perspective on the questions. And Lisa and Shreya and Clay, thank you for joining for this session.
Thank you.